Tim, love the rig, man. That's a good look you got going on right
Champ
there.
Daddy, D for Daddy, Q20.
Q,
Also,
can you come?
how's that?
Dad.
Dad.
In case
Dad.
there was any confusion. Okay, that's good. And the Q is, what's the Q?
The town of Quogue.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's like
town
a
of
softball
Quogue.
jersey.
These are homemade, by the way. I don't know if it's obvious, but yes, these are homemade. So
it's a great look. It reminds me of a baseball jersey. And the fun. So obviously it's not the spring because in spring training, spring hope's eternal for every
spring's eternal. Yeah.
Baseball team. Every fan base thinks they're going to the World Series. The Detroit Tiger fan base, despite the fact
they don't.
For the normal season, they're going to lose 100 games. They think they got a shot. The
Orioles
Orioles fans, despite they're going to lose 100 games, everybody thinks they got a shot. Optimism is an amazing thing in the spring, and then you get into reality by June, and things change. But I say that because
I know where you're going here. Yeah,
are ridiculous here in the economy.
Well, so if you think about the 60-game Major League season, you've shortened the timeline, and therefore almost anything can happen. In the current economy, the role of the Federal Reserve and knocking interest rates to zero also has at least eliminated the visibility. So we really don't know who the good teams are, the bad teams are. It's if you think about the strength in the economy, lack thereof, or really, what does the American balance sheet at home look like? Anecdotally, the Journal had an article about this, and what we're seeing in home sales numbers, what we're seeing in from the home builders, what we're seeing from the auto companies. We talk about AutoZone, we talk about CarMax. You've done a great job with that one. People are buying cars and houses. And so the question is, where is this disconnect? And is it really just a function of, I know the Fed is there bailing out corporate balance sheets, but the Fed is bailing out the household at this point. And the sense is that with zero interest rates, look, you can buy a house that maybe it's really not the right time for, especially if you're thinking we're going to be spending a lot more time in this house, and that the way we're living is different. And it's interesting because, again, big ticket items are crushing it. And obviously Winnebagos and some of these more thematic ones. But if you think about where people are not spending and where they're maybe allocating some of that income towards the car and the house, they're not spending in restaurants. They're not spending on vacations. They have different, and they've reallocated their disposable income wallet. So I don't know, man. The shortened baseball league season scares me a little bit. This Fed backstop scares me a little bit.
Yeah, both terrify me, but right now both. Well, we know the Fed backstop is definitely working, and we'll see what happens with Major League Baseball. I think it certainly levels, and I hate the term, but it levels the playing field for sure. Because if you get off to if you get off to a 17-6 start, you're 23 games into a 60-game schedule. You're in the catbird seat, and you could be a miserable team. It's interesting because the Nats won the World Series last year. Their first 50 games, I think they were 21-29 or something, or 19-31, and they completely turned it around. So
they were, I believe,
game series.
And I believe they were 13 games under. I don't know, was it last year or the year before when the Mets were like 17-6? And I think you said they won't win. They won't have 25 wins before they have 25 losses.
I think I said on the set. Remember when it was on the set? I think they were off to a ridiculous start, and I said by 50 games they'll be a 500 team, and you scoffed at me. And I think that's exactly what wound up happening. It gives me such joy too, because as I've said 1,000 times, nothing gives me more pleasure than watching the Mets lose.
But you're a nice man. You're a nice man, and in your soul, you're a good man. And the fact that Jake DeGrom walked off the hill yesterday, apparently quote unquote wincing in pain.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best pitcher in baseball. Yeah, I said that, or at least he was. Does that make you happy? Does it
make me happy? What part? That he's the best pitcher in baseball, or that he walked off?
No, that he walked off wincing in pain. Because again, I'll take this back to the American consumer. I don't think these are good times for people. Are you? So Watch what I'm doing to you.
I
Are
see
you
what you're doing.
rooting? Are you rooting against the American consumer here?
course
Because if you're rooting against Jake DeGrom,
Of course not.
I think
No,
that's
I mean,
what you.
the leap that you've made there is I mean, you've basically done
Hey,
an
man.
evil Knievel over the Snake River Canyon. Unfortunately, you pulled the parachute much too quick, and now you're plummeting into the river itself. So let's just establish that.
But
So I'm not
you're
rooting against the consumer.
but you're not bullish on the market, and
No.
you're actually, you've never been this way, so you're not going to be this way now. You're not looking for the "I told you so" moment.
No,
But
of course not.
shouldn't there be some desire to see fundamentals which you think are terrible ultimately rise to the surface? Because how else are we supposed to look at the world in so I mean, I know that's not what you're asking for, but it really is a difficult time to be an investor and trying to be sizing up the fundamentals. And I'll tell you this again: the last data that I got a couple days ago on retail flows, and truly where retail bullishness or lack thereof. In other words, the retail investor is not at all-time highs on the Nasdaq right now, and at some point there's going to be, I think, even more of a pain trade.
Yeah, well, that pain trade is working. I mean, maybe not so much today in terms of the Nasdaq, but absolutely in terms of that move in the S&P 500. It's been staggering. And look, I don't think the fundamentals are particularly great, but maybe they don't need to be, because we have this implied backstop, and maybe they can bridge us to the other side of the Snake River. But I know what happened to Evel Knievel.
Yeah. So I think that we've talked about, as long as central banks are on your side, I'm not betting against this market in outside of some corrections here and there, and the volatility and the coiled spring and all that. But I'm not going out and buying a yacht. In fact, I've got a dinky little old Mako boat with a 175 horsepower, and I go fishing on it.
Are you an Evinrude guy?
Well, I got a Yami on the back, bro. I got a Yami, but my question is, yacht rock. What is this?
No,
and seriously, do you listen to yacht rock? Because your Spotify station is getting, by the way, a lot of play. People are talking about it.
100%. I will tell you that maybe the greatest yacht rock song, and we'll leave it at this, is Stephen Bishop's "On and On." Fantastic song.
And for all the great Stephen Bishops and Ambrosias and Steely Dan, who I know you don't like, I find Kenny Loggins and Michael McDonald reprehensible. And it seemed to me in the late 70s, if you were especially a studio kind of oriented act, all roads had to go through Michael McDonald and that throaty kind of background vocally thing, which kills me when I hear it minute by minute. What a fool believes, guy. Be careful in this market.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.